Or small, or are we going to be the same size? How does that work? Hello.
I can switch it and
Yeah, if we're next to each other, and then what's the third one?
Yeah, so they're fine with that. That'll work for them.
You look a bit bleached out, Jenny.
It's the lighting, and this is sunlight. This is sunlight, and it's just
you can't really see your face. You might want to make it so that people can see better.
Well,
you look like a ghost, darling.
The only thing is turning this natural light down.
Yeah, you have to maybe pull the.
I'm in an office, and
that's probably better. You might be able to see your gorgeous face. Hello, everyone. That's better.
Okay, so everybody's here.
Hi, everyone.
Here we are. It is a Tuesday, so this week is going to be crazy. Let me turn this down. It is a Tuesday. Okay, so I'm going to allow yourself to introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Antonia Harmon from Divine Empowerment. Thank you, Jenny, for having me on your show. I'm a healer and a wizard. I've had some cool, amazing, interesting breakthroughs, which we can discuss. And I think we're just going to be discussing what's going on in the world today. What are we doing here, Jenny? Tell us all about it.
We're going everywhere and diving into everything. That's the thing that, because there's a lot of people have a lot of different questions. So That's what we're going to address. So, and I'm sure you've seen the Israel thing. It's everywhere that people are.
Yeah, it seems really dark. I don't know what's going on, but it does seem like there's some horrible things happening in the world, and it seems, not ideal.
No, but I mean, it's they always want you to pick a side, and that's what we don't need to do.
No.
On this process, and like I said, going into that perception that they showed that there was always these items that were at the bottom of Israel and beings that were at the bottom of Israel. And we're looking at the top of it with all these churches just thrown up on there, and they're fighting over an energy that's at the bottom of it. So the artifacts, the tunnelways that are down there, the churches, the original churches that are down there, all that stuff, that's what's the fight. It's always going to be a fight about that land, to conquer it. And so, because there's an energy source that's going to come out of that. And
so is it Christ source energy or divine energy, or what's
well, it is. It's creator's energy, and it is part of the gold energy, I call it, that we need to go into the next process of our world. And the thing is, they showed these prestige, beautiful creatures down there. Things are hidden in many levels down there, and just even the floors, the tile floors and stuff, if you dig, you would see them. So the lie is on top, the truth is at the bottom.
Right.
And now we're at that last war process. We have to conquer that area. This
is the final war, is what you're saying as well. So
it is not a war between man, though. It is a war between good and evil. It was always about them. That was the thing about it. That was the whole perception of this, that it didn't matter what man perceived in it, it was still going to happen. No matter what they do, this is going to happen. So those artifacts are going to be returned to the beings that need to be.
What do you think's down there? Do you think the covenant, or do you think there are some big things?
I know they call them the original writings, and so there are the original writings of this prestige of this earth, and everything that's the real raw information is beneath it, and the real beings are beneath it, and the real churches are beneath it. And I talked about this a year ago on a YouTube. I've just said it many times over. This is the last war, the last stand, all this stuff. So this has to happen. Nothing man is going to do is going to stop this process. But they're using it as an agenda to feed the fear. again, you know.
Yeah. Do you think
But
there's a Stargate there or anything really exciting like that?
well, no, it's an energy frequency. That's why when you go to that land, you feel that energy. It feels emotional, it feels connected to, and that's what's underneath the ground that is very important. And so, as they are telling me, you want to pay attention above it. You want to pay attention to seeing light come down from it at night, and then you're wanting to look for openings in the ground because they can't stop this. This has to happen. It's like it's got to.
Are there going to be some
Well,
sinkholes or something? Do you think that opening in the ground, do you think there's going to be some sinkholes appearing and then there's going to be some things underneath it? Or
because I've always described the Earth as like a Rubik's Cube. It's going to shift back into its old plate and it's going to show itself again. So, and that's the thing. If you look at, it's so funny because everybody, when something happens, they're so well programmed that everybody talks about, everybody focuses on what the media makes you focus on. Like I said,
right.
They want you to stay in the middle and focus on what they're doing. But you need to be looking outside of it, around it, things that are being moved out of it at night at 2 a.m. because this was always going to happen. It was never going to be avoided. And so, and then when that's over, I expect an energy shift to change big time. So it was always beneath it. It was always the energy that was beneath it was the power, was the source. And all these churches wanted to put all their temples all the way around it. So to covet it, but to hide it, to seal it in, it's just is never going to happen. The truth was always going to come to the top. Always. And then you got all these people like this propaganda, like we did the cell phone thing, and everybody jumped on that, and everybody freaked everybody out, and that never happened. We already knew that. And then they pushed that persona in the spiritual community, the UFO community, and now we're down. Now we're in this Israel thing, and they're doing the same thing. There's no fear. There's no fear process in this. Some of the stuff that they're seeing has happened 3 years ago.
Oh.
So it's over.
Yeah, but there's stuff on the ground which is happening at the moment, which is not pretty. I mean, there is violence at the moment.
Where are you getting the information? Are you seeing something that has been in the past that they've said?
No, I'll tell you where I'm getting that information from. I was just in London and someone signed up to be a new student of mine who's Israeli, and she's got family on the ground there. And that's what she was telling me, that she's Israeli and she was going back to Israel, and she was, she'd seen missiles over her head before she left. So
the missiles,
yeah,
as in where the direction they were going and where they're hitting. That's what I would be looking at, because I'm telling you, they're digging stuff up. When we had the Iraq War, that was about going after items. And
I heard that there were artifacts from the Iraq War that the soldiers had found, and they had these amazing devices that were.
Yes. So just imagine tenfold underneath there.
I'd like some magical devices. Mm-hmm. What do you think that technology is going to be able to do?
Well, it helps us into the freedom process. It helps us understand what our bodies can do. You have to understand everything, just like the keys, everything was hidden and separated, so it could not be corrupted, and now all those artifacts and items have to come back together piece by piece. And that's what's happening. So, and that's why you're seeing all over the world, everybody's finding everything now, because they're supposed to find it all now. It's supposed to come to the surface. It's supposed to come to the ocean. It's supposed to be on top now, because there's no way they're going to hide it no more.
Right.
But it's that slow disclosure of the veil of understanding what people can adapt to at the time they can accept it. And so all you have to do is pay attention. If you can get the real pictures over Israel at night, and pay attention to the sky, and pay attention to the ground, and pay attention to the lights, and pay attention to stuff moving out of there, That's what you need to be doing, because you got to see it for yourself. What you're seeing on the screen.
Do you not think they're beheading children and doing these ghastly things then? Do you not think that's
No,
happening?
no,
Yeah, that's happening. I hope
no,
it's not. I haven't got a clue.
no, I do not. I do not feel, and that was not the process. They said that a certain, a certain society would be into this process of evil. And I'm saying there's a percentage there that is evil, but they've been evil for a while.
Energy and it can do things, you know. I mean, I truly hope you're correct, and that the atrocities aren't happening as we're seeing in the news. But if they're telling us that they're happening, then that fear, that upset, that, you know, being it's very upsetting watching the news and seeing horrible reports about ghastly atrocities happening, and us getting upset about that is still an energy source which the dark side can use for nefarious means.
But you have to understand there's very good actors, and they're very good at setting scenes and everything. You have to really look at the fine details of information.
Right.
You have to, and you have to feel it in the gut, what is right and what is not. And then you have to understand what is the intention of presenting this, because everything on the news is an intention to have you go in one direction or another.
Yeah, fear porn, but that, you know, they use these energies to do different things, and they've always cultivated energy. So in the good old days, a couple of 100 years ago in England, for example, just to go slightly off topic, but it makes sense. What they used to do is they want to harvest energy to be able to, because then it can be used to do whatever they want. So in England, what they used to do is at 7 p.m. on a Friday night, they used to ring a bell in all the churches. And then everyone was asked to go home and have sex with their spouses. And that was the time when everyone would be having sex. And then they were using that energy to then go and make whatever they want to happen. So that they did it all around the UK and loads of different, and all the churches simultaneously. So then that's just a body of energy, and that body of energy can then be used to make or do whatever they want to do with it. So that was the old way of doing it, an organized way of doing it. But certainly if you get everybody.
The thing is, I would tell you the White Hats are pretty much in control of everything. So when you know that fact of what's going on, you have to look at this in a different reality. What is being shown, what is being dismantled, and what they want you to think. So everything's a perceived state of a stage set. Why are they showing it this way? Why do they want you to focus on this? So at the end of this situation with this Holy Land, there has to be a big final
crescendo. And what do you think this might happen? What do you think this crescendo is going to be? It's like, ta-da! What, some ETs are going to
an eruption. And I think I went back on that video, and it was talking about water running through Israel that looked like blood. So I went back to that video, because when I channel, I can't remember everything. So this all has to do with everything I was saying, like things shifting up, you know, coming to the surface. But they've been suppressing it down for many years and pushing it down and pushing the lie down and everything else down. And now everything has to come to the surface. And man is not in control anymore. Period.
Who's in control? God. God always was in control, wasn't he?
Creator has always been in control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Always.
But if you talk to the humans here, you know, they'll like, well, the only way it's going to happen is if me, myself, and I save the world. That doesn't exist. It's a collective of energy that works as a frequency together.
And I don't know. It is being told what to do, and I find myself to be a soldier of God, and I just get told to go do stuff, and I go do it, and I hope there's lots of people who just literally get told to do things, and we go do them. You know, I think that's what happens with the people who actually really work for God. I have a little section over here, and then someone else has a little section over here, and we're all collectively working for the divinity to make the world a better place.
So it was always going to be the last war. However you perceive it, however they had to present it, it was going to be the last war seen. And you're seeing it.
Right.
Now, what comes after this is what you really need to pay attention to. You keep an eye on what the TV's telling you to keep an eye on. You're going to miss the boat. So the first thing I would be doing is Googling that area and paying attention to what's coming in of it, out of it, in it, everything. Air control, all that stuff, water, everything.
What's this watch the water stuff? So that's what something that the 17th letter of the alphabet's been saying. So what is that all about? What is the watch the water?
Because it has to rise.
So
like
sea level.
Just like you've seen in Africa, how water just comes out of the desert. I'm just telling you, it's not the norm stuff that you're going to expect to see.
Do you think it's to do with Antarctica melting and then all the tech and
that, but also, like they said, these prestige beings will appear. That's
what sort of beings are they? What do they look like? Are they light beings? What do they look like?
Like humans. I mean,
they look like humans.
People, it's a collective of energy. It doesn't look like a human form. And that's another thing the persona is pushing, that everything looks like a human, and that's not true. So you're looking at a form. I mean, the thing that I see that's always together at the same time is wearing these white cloaks or gray cloaks. They're always covered. So if they want to show their original form, they will, by showing you that. But you're going to get a glimpse of that. You're going to see the power of it. So and then I'd be paying attention to storms, because storms are in layers, and the layers of wars. So I would be getting this to a certain point and then expecting to see storms above it. That's what I think is next.
Storms above it. Well, like twisters and stuff.
Well, it's not really storms. It's a cover-up.
Right.
So there's other wars above it. It's always going to end up in this area. It's always going to end up, the last part is this land. It was going to be the end of it. So I say when this is over and it's quiet and it's peaceful and everything's done, then you're like, okay, well, what's next? Because if that's the end, then we're supposed to roll into this energy. That's what I'm waiting for. That recognition.
And then what happens? So how long do you reckon this war will go on for?
This is what they said when I talked about this fog presenting to Earth in this cream fog. The negative would not be able to breathe in it.
Right.
Sustain that energy. But the positive will flourish in it.
Right.
We're down to that process.
So do you think we're in the time of the harvest? Do you think people are just going to evaporate off, or the NPCs, or how does it all work?
I think people are already disappearing.
Are they?
Happening, yes.
I thought that, but then I don't actually think that anymore. Like, I was just in London, and the traffic was really bad. So I was just thinking that everyone's still here, that the traffic was super, super bad. Right. So it's not getting any lighter. London, I just got back from London, and it was busy as anything. Restaurants are really busy. The trade show is a little quiet.
My information, it's not come from anything I get here. It's downloaded. That's the thing. People, they're trying to always lay it in a religion or this or that. And I'm like, no, it just comes down and I present it the way it needs to be presented. I offend all the religions. Just to be honest. Not their way.
All right. Well, you're bringing through new stuff and new information and new truth,
Yeah, well, like I said, documentation will follow verification. We're going to see this big verification on this one. I think it's going to be a big one.
So how long do you think this before all this stuff happens, or do you not like to do times on this stuff?
No, I feel that this is not something long. It's not going to be a long process.
What about oil and gas? Because we're coming into winter. Everyone's a bit worried about that in the UK, like the gas prices, because but now the pipeline's broken, isn't it, in Russia, and now we're not going to get gas out of the Middle East, so we're all going to get really cold. So when are we getting these proper new fuels, which are 0 point or free or cheap or available?
I think you'll start to see a rollout starting in November, just a consistent rollout of something new coming in. See, this is the thing. You guys think it's just going to show up and it's just going to push in a new corporation with a new name, like everything else in this world. It's not going to be the old names. It's going to be new names, new titles, and they're coming in, and then they're just fulfilling the needs of the people. So, and they're not trying to get the limelight. They're just doing what they're supposed to be doing. Like I said, with everything with 3D, it has to be dismantled. It has to burn to the ground, and something new will replace it. So that's where we're at. So, and then, like I said, because I don't pay attention to everything I do on predictions, and then the volcano in Italy, the thing about that one had a lot to do with the rods of God. And they said on that one, as you're looking in it in a 3D concept, you would see lava on a higher understanding. You would not see that. So that's why you always see ships come out of these volcanoes. There's more in them, what they say, but they said that one of the rods of God would be at the end of this volcano.
How many are there? Because I know that allegedly Hitler had the rods of God. Did he have some, or is that not true?
I don't know. The original ones I get are the number 3 on them. I don't feel that Hitler had them, but I think it's impossible. It's impossible for a human to sustain them.
Because do they get radiation poisoning like they do from the Ark of the Covenant?
Well, you wouldn't be able to get close to it, and you would have to be a being. You would have to be a being that was able to touch that and get near that, and you have to have the energy to do that. So no human would be able to sustain that.
Right.
So, again, it can't be a human again.
So we've got other beings from different places. Yeah, someone's just said Mount Vesuvius. Is that what happened there? Is that anything to do with that, or is that just a normal volcanic eruption, or is that anything techie?
Well, the thing is, and they showed me them looking from a view. When these eruptions happen, these higher beings would be witnessing it and waiting. So I'm seeing at the same time Israel, and then this thing in Italy happening with this volcano. So it's all this stuff having to happen at the same time and to reveal everything.
Do you know, they did some interesting research a few years ago where they looked at the places that were having awful climate, maybe tsunamis or like really volcanoes, the really bad, crazy stuff. And it was often in places where there was a lot of political unrest. So the theory that they came up with was when you have a leader and a country who's following and behaving in ways which is not in alignment with source God and kindness and love, they're more gone and done very selfish ways or just are very lost as a people, then you get natural disasters. They follow people's bad behavior, as it were. How do you feel about that?
I just think the whole process with that is it's okay. So let me explain. When things change and shift, people are thinking about this as awakening stage of things. Okay, there's a certain percentage of the public that is just going to shift with the crowd. Okay, no matter what, they're not about thinking for themselves. They're just about waiting for everybody to shift the same way. Okay, so you have to understand that some people have a limited veil of understanding and are never going to get past that. And then there's the higher understanding, and there's a higher level above that. So you have to look at things in 3 levels of how people can adapt to information, what they can withstand, and some that can step up against fear, and some cannot. Some cannot at all. And some of them just in their soul, they want to be liked so much that they don't want to erupt anything, and they just want to go with the crowd. And that's what's going to happen. You're going to see this, all of a sudden you see this blue wave. Now you're going to see this red wave go back this way. And then when the people are funded, they're going to keep their mouths shut because they want their money funding themselves, and they don't want to have anybody interrupt their lifestyle. And if it takes care of everything that they need, they're going to be quiet. I am
Well,
telling
they've
you
sold their
that.
souls, haven't they? Many people for the big dollar, I guess.
Mm.
Mm.
See. We'll see. We'll see. So we can go into some of the questions you want to.
Yeah, I've been reading some of them and asking them, but I can go to the ones I have that we've been emailed across. It says Victoria, Australia. Where are the best locations to move to within the state? There are hotspots of lingering energies who dabble in the dark side, or is it cleaned out as a whole? Australia, is it messed up or is it okay?
I believe that it's down to an end process. It's not quite there, but I think it's there. I don't know if that makes sense. It's, when you have to clean everything up and you've got debris and you still have a bunch of things you have to get straightened up. So I just feel that we're in that process.
Okay. So we've got another question. It says, please explain flat Earth. How flat? How many miles thick are the layers? Is it round or square? Earth is indeed an unusual planet, since all of the others in the universe are balls. Is it flat? Number
It's
one.
flat. It's flat.
It is flat. How does that work with the other planets? Then,
okay, they've told me, and I asked about other planets. They go, it's over here. So basically, it's stretched out across the ice instead of above, because that's the firmament above. So everybody, and that's when I first asked that question. They're like, it's in the same level you are, but it's just a different direction. And so we're going to find out about. And I did some projects across the ice and what type of material it's across the ice and what type of paradise is across the ice. And they wanted to contain us and keep us in this flat zone for a long time. And I mean, the truth is right in front of you. And it's like something they don't want to accept. That ice wall is there to see. It is there to witness. And they have a problem accepting that situation at all. I mean, and I believe there's an inner sun and an outer sun on that process. I believe there's an inner earth and there's an outer earth. And I think sometimes that we think we're on top and sometimes we might be on the bottom.
Does it flip? Does it move around?
But it moves they're showing me it moves in shifts. So,
like the Rubik's Cube thing moving around. So that's how you think it works.
So, so what's going to happen when you see ships sometimes, they think it's coming from outer space. Well, there's one way in, one way out. And it's coming from the ocean. It's coming from inner space. It's just, and this is not information that I'm doing research on. It's the stuff that presented to me and I had to analyze it and look at it and go, yeah, this isn't making sense. And then I started doing remote viewing, going down and seeing levels and saying, I mean, there's beautiful places in the inner earth that they don't want you to go. They don't want you, because you're definitely not going to want to be here if you saw that. So, and that's part of my Humble Healing 3 is where the other side of the ice is, where there's areas that man has never even touched or even touched their finger in, and it is beautiful. And the queens try to put their name all around those areas to claim it. You can do that yourself on that. So it's hard because you got to think about, when were you taught that this earth was round? Now you go back to every biblical Bible, it shows a flat earth. I think it's past the 1950s, and then all of a sudden they decided to change it. So it's all about mind control. So
I'm not convinced either way on it. I don't know the answer.
Yeah, so I've seen it with remotely, and I've seen how, especially when they say there is a fruitful tree that is planted in the center of this earth, and everything grows from that process.
Is that the tree of life?
And that's a symbol of God, because everything is rooted into the seed of life through, and then the nutrients of the bark of the tree, and everything grows from there. So that's what they showed me. Now, and then at the end of this, if they let the ice melt, which is happening, and they let it, you see everything, then you're going to know. But right now, you're contained in an area that you can't go past. The elite was able to, but you couldn't. And now they're starting to allow that to happen a little bit. So I'm going to tell you, when you find out all of this stuff, you're going to be pissed off. You were lied to so much, and that's why I tell people, you're going to have to look at history and rewind it and look at it a different way on everything.
Well, it's his story, isn't it? So it's just a story. It's the story of the victor. It's difficult to know what's real, and it doesn't seem like much of it is.
Well, it is. And it's hard because, like I said, if you've been taught that the world is round, I've got that nailed into your brain that is the way it is. And you have flat earth people, and you have no, and they are just mad about the fact that we will not change. But if people could do what I could do and perceive it that way, and I've showed people to perceive it that way, they're seeing the flat earth. They're not seeing a round ball. And even people that travel for a career, you talk to these pilots, they'll tell you the truth too. It's flat. It's flat. It's flat.
I've spoken to pilots who haven't said that, and my best friend was a stewardess, and she didn't agree with that. So I don't know.
Well, at the end, the documentation will follow the verification.
Yeah, I mean, it remains to be seen. I look forward to really seeing this stuff and finding out but I know that, for example, the Vikings were in America long before Columbus was there. They managed to get there in their long boats. So, well, I mean, a lot of history is utter, lies.
Well, I live in the area where a lot of those artifacts ended up, and in Minnesota, and they've had the Vikings ended up in this area and stuff like that. So there's people don't always allow the government to know where that's at.
What about, that's a good one. Val's just asked a question. Does gravity exist? What's gravity?
I believe it. I don't believe it in the sense of what's keeping us here. I don't believe that it can limit us and keep us to a certain point. I don't believe the science analogy on that either. So I believe it can shift and change, just like the energy when it hits Earth and how that goes. It goes up and it goes down and it goes through our Earth. And I see energy like waves. I think that we get constant waves constantly, and we can't visualize. Not all of us can visualize and see that rhythm like the ocean changing, and how things interact with it, and how things detach, and then how things pull you a different way, and how from day to day that changes. So I believe that the core that's at our planet, that whole frequency changes, and it sets that pace of that energy flowing to the top.
So I can answer. I've got another answer to that question, which is from David Wilcock's work, which I thought was quite interesting. So he says that gravity is about a smaller object being attracted to a bigger object. So just, I don't know, for example, my mug. And so the mug would have the gravity, and he said it's love, and it's about everything joining together and becoming one. So if this was, obviously this is bigger, so the pen would go towards the cup because it's bigger, because everything wants to be intertwined together. So gravity and love ultimately are the same. So the love and light, and the light is photons. So so it's all about everything wanting to be as one and joining together in love. So
and having that balance fight and have that resistance, it's always opposite ends of feeling that balance, and that's why it's always in a way. If it was always consistent and the same, it wouldn't be moving at all. We'd be solid.
But there's levity. Levity, I think, is a thing as well, which is levity is the opposite of gravity, which is a reverse polarity. And apparently, if we sort of switch into a parallel universe or a different dimension, then levity, which is reverse gravity, happens. So you can make things levitate by using levity and pulling that energy through. How do you make things levitate?
Energy. So this is what I think, even when we go back to when we were in grade school and we were taught astronauts went to the moon, and the first thing you see is there's no gravity there. You know?
Less gravity, not no gravity, less gravity. Yeah.
Yeah, but why was that persona pushed so well when we know what I believe the moon is not a real original moon?
I think it's a spaceship.
Yes, I believe it sees us, sees everything. I believe it changes, and then sometimes I believe that it's really not there, and we're just seeing something glare upon the firmament. So that's why I think it changes so much. So I don't believe it's what man was told it is. I believe it's a whole system inside of it.
I was in Mexico and the moon was the wrong way up, which was really weird. It looked like it was an eclipse. It was like the crescent moon was like this side and then this side. It just moved. It kept on changing. It was like the moon was glitching and not showing what it was. It was the wrong way up, and then it flipped over like 2 days later, which I thought was very, very strange. And it wasn't an eclipse. It was a very, and you wouldn't have the moon working in that way. It was just the most odd thing. I didn't know.
I can never get the realness of it. I never feel this real energy of it. It just feels like it's made, and that never connected with me in that way. You can get an energy off of it, but it's not this natural way that is formed. It's just.
Do you think it's a Death Star, like in Star Wars?
Like no, I think it is built from another species that has been brought here.
Yeah, like a Death Star then.
Mm. They all see an eye.
So it's just watching everything that we're doing all the time.
Yes.
Right. Golly. So what else? Other questions have we got? Got lots of people around. What about this solar flash? Do you think it's happening? Has happened? Will happen?
I don't believe that's I've said that it's this energy that comes to Earth, that either it's going to be, if you're in the positive light and you work for the positive energy, you're going to flow with that energy. If you're in the negative, it's going to impact you a different way. So I don't feel this flash that's going to just dismantle the whole world. Like I said, my view looks at things. I don't look at it from what man says what it is, because in the history of man, you can't trust what they say at all. At all. Okay, so my mindset was never into believing what they said. So I go by what I feel and what I visualize. And no, I don't believe it's going to come the way that they say it's going to come. I don't think it's going to do the damage that's going to come. I think that it's something you can flow through, and if your body's ready to take it on and flow with it. So I believe, like I said, they showed me an energy coming, a color frequency that's changing, and you're either going to accept it and flow through it, or you're not. It's going to make you feel a different way.
So do you think it's going to be like an aurora borealis and very gradual? Do you think it's going to be like a one-time big flash?
I think there are days that'll be aggressive that you'll feel, and there are days that it won't be. It depends on how it comes, seeps in, or it's just, that's that fear process of taking that and putting in, and it's like, oh, you should fear this, and this is the process you need to fear. No. Solar flash, I'm sorry, on the science side, I don't trust them at all anymore. I look at it and go, I need to restart completely over, because they're bought and paid for. Period.
Someone's asking where you get your information from. How do you tune in?
And creator, and they interpret the information, and I write it down. I do the documentation, and I wait for the verification. So it's images, tones, vibrations, information that I've had for a long time. So, so to take that and see that that was consistent on information, and then saying, okay, I'm going to trust man and what they have to say. It's never been that way with me. It's always been, no, follow us, follow this information, and they've led me to the truth. So, and that's the whole thing, you know. Creator's always been a solid energy, and man, it's always about the money and what they want to sell on the persona that day, and what they want you to think that day, or what they want you to believe that day. It just changes. And it's just not a route I've ever wanted to go down, and never will. I want to feel it and see it in my own eyes.
Yeah.
And then you have to adapt to seeing something you don't understand and waiting for the truth to come and show itself, you know, and have patience in that information. That's the thing about it. And because I look out completely outside the box and don't do what anybody does, and just takes my own information and route it the direction I feel is the right way, it really makes people feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, you have different information to other people, which shows it's coming from you rather than you just regurgitating other people's information.
Yeah. Regurgitating is a good word.
Yeah, which some people do.
Yeah.
So, and it seems pretty accurate. So, you know, there is that. What's about the split in timelines? Do we think that's going to be happening? So, is the Earth going to be splitting with two different timelines? People on the positive, people on the negative, the rapture, all of that sort of stuff, or not really?
They showed me recently in this timeline situation. Now, the ones that have evolved and have can see through and have done the work, they're saying they'll see through everything. And the ones that haven't will not have the veil to see. So you're not going to get a free ride because you didn't do the work, or you didn't work within yourself. So these timelines are changing. Literally, we're creators, we can create our reality. And once you're down to understanding it's your oneness. So when these timelines change, a normie would just be in fear and couldn't accept it and turns away from it. A person that is open to the experience and understanding, and the veil of understanding, and the dimensions that are changing, because even in your dreams, you are going through dimensions. Sometimes people just want to attach a dream, and they want it to be consistent in the dream and want to put it together. And sometimes it's not about that. Sometimes it's about walking through a process of information, and it's not connected. It is another dimension into another dimension. And when you're alert and aware that you are walking through dimensions, you have more control than you think. So it's not something that, you know, you're not going to have control until a certain amount of time. You already have that perception to go into. You just have to see beyond that already and saying, this is a different reality. This is a different perception. This is a different dimension. But your veil of understanding has to start to accept it. And not everything, this is the biggest thing I tell people, is not everything is in a human form. And they're so wrapped in things being in a human form that they need to get beyond that they can see its true identity and its trueness.
Yeah, I'm getting more into the idea that everything is, that we are living in a hologram, or we're living in a simulation.
Right.
I think that's becoming more and more evident to me, because I've just come up with this new work, which is deleting source code, because I've had a lot of attacks recently with various different things. When I went on with Ishmael, there was a lot of attacks, and it looked like the attacks were sort of duplicating, and there were so many different things coming from different directions. And it was, and we were just going after them. But as soon as we got rid of some, there were more. It was just, there was so much going on. Then I came up with a delete source code for these attacks, which was the original part of the attack, so that every duplication of the attack could then be brought down, which made it really interesting. And then I've ended up, because I'm teaching my level 13 class shortly, the beginning of November. So I've started adapting this to be working on illnesses. And one of my practitioners, Spring, had a benign tumor in her uterus. And I think it would have probably turned into a malignant one, and like a proper cancer, had she not done anything about it. But what I did was I saw it, and she'd been working on the emotions. So I think emotions are the largest part of disease, or that disease are compressed emotions. And what I did was use this new energy, which is delete source code. And the source code looks like it's the original AI programming for diseases. And then if you delete the source code, it sort of runs all the way through the illness. And it's the original programming, and everything is built on top of it or adapted to it within each of the different illnesses. So I deleted the source code for her fibroids, or her benign tumor, and it was gone in. Well, she was doubled over in pain, unable to really leave the house or get out of bed or do anything. The following day, she was able to do yoga and get on her bicycle. And the day after that, she had a scan, and it was completely gone in 48 hours, which is making me really think that we are in a simulation. Because if I can get to the source code of things and we can play around with the source code, then I think we can sort of recreate the universe and control the matrix and delete things that don't serve us anymore and build things that do. So I'm really coming into that idea these days, which is quite fun.
Well, don't you think that of looking at something and having the power to say, this is no longer going to be a part of my body. And I believe once you believe in something, you're able to get rid of something. That power is so powerful.
I think it can be, because what's really interesting about placebos is the more showy they are, the better they work. So the ones which work the least well are a pill that you take once a day or less. And then the next good one is a bigger pill. And if you take it more times a day, then it becomes better. But the best one, or the most likely one to work, is actually cutting somebody open. So if someone has some awful disease and maybe you have to cut something out of them, if you actually open them up, do nothing to them, seal them back up again and say, you're free, you're well now, the transplant worked, this is gone, you're great. If you actually just do that, amazingly and interestingly, because they believe that it's gone, then that actually works quite a lot of the time. They're not really allowed to do it because it's unethical, but they have done it in the past, and they've sealed people up, and they've realized that their disease has spread so much that actually inoperable. But then they tell them it's worked perfectly, and their belief, their real true belief that it's gone and the surgery has worked, has actually meant they've healed themselves from horrible diseases, and even things have repaired themselves, and transplants and bones and all sorts of different things across the board. So I think if you really truly do believe it, you may actually get well, and it's been proven with placebo stuff.
Well, I believe in a download I got from Creator, and they said on the onset of the severe pain, at that moment, you have a choice to make. You either take on that severe pain and hold it within the body, or you release it and send it back out. So your body has a choice to hold on to something or release the pain back out. And so in that mindset, and I've tried it and I applied it, and it does work. Within seconds, the numbness goes away, and then it just dissolves. So it depends on how your body decides it wants to take something on, or how it wants to dispose of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that you can choose some things, but it's also keeping track of your emotions and not getting fixated and stuck on horrible things that may have happened to people, because that's what's causing diseases, is us getting stuck in mind loops about various different horrific situations.
Right. It does. It creates it on all ends of things. So that's where we're at on my process. Is there anything you want to specifically talk about?
So when do you think there were quantum financial systems coming out?
So I already think this is the thing about it. Here's what you're seeing in front. And on the back, I believe there's a ditto account. I believe that we're already there and there's already a ditto account of your account. So all it is, I think everything's on a balance point right there. And so in the 3D, you can see that screen and you can see your account connected to that one amount. But I already believe it's there. I already believe everything's supplemented. I just believe it's literally about pulling the screen. What's holding up that process? And I believe that every other country is getting online to things. And I think that we, like I've said, I think we were the last one. So I think the green light's there.
America, you mean? I'm in England.
Yeah. America. But that green light is there. It's just, all it is waiting for that balance of everything clear. So it's not, everybody wants a time. Well, the time is that it's there. But are we ready for the green light to be hit? Because let me tell you, when that green light is hit, the reality of 3D is gone. It's not just the money that gets there, it's what happens after. That's the whole concept. You have to get things ready because with the low-minded people, like I said, they're going to freak out more than you have any idea. And you have to control, sustain, and deal with those issues alone. I think that's your biggest process right now, is that feeding a mindset that you can have anything you want, you can be anything you want, you can do anything you want. And now that comes back down to reality. That is going to create an epidemic of people going out of control and losing their minds.
I think it needs to be gradual because I mean, the problem is as well, we are manifestors, and look, a lot of people are manifesting a lot of illnesses. So if you could actually manifest anything you wanted, you've got to make sure that your mind is still, your mind is calm, and you don't freak out and then just, be in a room by yourself and then think about a monster and then a monster be there. Like these things they need training wheels.
But society is sick. Society is a mental illness process right now, and it has been fed by an agenda. And now that agenda has to back out. We have to know what we have to do with those ones so it doesn't affect society anymore. So I'm telling you, it's not, is the money there? Yes. What happens after that? It's like, okay, once it happens, this fear of 3D actually going down, okay? People are not going to react the way you guys think they're going to react on a lot of levels.
How do you think they will react?
They're going to lose their minds. Okay, no TV, no programming that you thought you had before. The way society says how things are going to change. New rules, new guidelines are going to be implemented. That to them is rules, rules, rules. No, we don't want that. What are you going to do? What have we been taught to do? Freak out, change, to corrupt things, to break things, so I'm just telling you, that's the chain effect of that coming down. And that's what they have to make sure that is secured when that reality hits the bottom of the truth. So you think it's the money? I don't think it's the money that's holding anything up at all. I think it's the reality of the humans that's holding it up. That's all it is. And so is this going to happen, in the middle of day? No. It's going to happen in the middle of night and then you wake up the next morning and everything's turned off? Yes.
But how is that going to happen? I mean, that doesn't even make any sense because there's going to be, it's like with time zones, your middle of the day is my middle of the night. Right. How does that make any sense
They will have to pick a certain time that everybody agrees on that everything's just shut down, whenever that is. But it's going to happen, period, across the board.
And then do you think it's a good idea to have food and water and things like that? Do you think it's all going to go to
Yeah, but not going overboard, overboard. The way I see it is like you get no TV for, just the extent of 10 days. You get no TV for 10 days. You can read a book. You can go outside. I mean, there's just certain peace. You can start thinking on your own. You don't have anything telling you how you need to think, what you need to buy, what you need to do. there's a certain balance of peace with that. And then I think out of that, people will be like, gosh, was a lot better having this quietness in the mind and nothing in front of me thrown, and just a certain peace that their mind can just think, and that's the thing. These younger children are going to have to start thinking on their own, not a phone that makes their decision or tells them what they need to buy or all this stuff, all that highly programmed suggestions. It needs to change. Period.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we all need to, just start giving and learning and growing and developing our own skills, whatever they may be, or art or creativity and that sort of stuff, or magic and seeing.
When it shuts down, the anger goes away.
When what shuts down?
When the 3D shuts down, the anger goes away, and I'll tell you why. Because that is fed 24/7. The division, the divide, all that stuff. When that completely stops, it's like this calmness takes over of your mind. You know what I'm saying? And your mind is going, I have to think on my own. I have to create on my own. And that's the thing that they never wanted. We don't want you to function on your own, and we want to tell you what to do. Even like the education system, that's going to be completely dismantled. And that's where we go back to science and all that stuff. Completely dismantled across the board.
Right.
Across the board. These doctrines and these lawyers, they're legal. The whole legal process theirs is over. They're going to school and doing this. That's going to be over in how they design this new world and how that affects, because the ways that that was created on corruption.
Right.
So that's gone too. And that's a reality. They're like, oh, I've been a lawyer for so long and this isn't going to work for me no more. And this doctorate degree is not going to work for me no more. Yeah. Yep.
It's going to be tough for a lot of people because a lot of people's identity is around their profession. That's who they are, and that's the main thing about them for a lot of people. So if their profession becomes redundant overnight, that's going to be very jarring.
That's what I'm saying. So the balance and the levels of understanding and how they're going to be able to handle that. That's what I'm saying. It's not going to be an easy process. And then it's really going to kill the ego.
Right.
I don't know anybody else, but I don't really care about stars anymore. I don't care about what they're doing. That all was just a whole program of characters and everything else. That whole process is over.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So I think this has been an interesting conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. Yeah. I've been asking just some questions from people as well on the question bar. Yeah. Anything else you want to talk about, Jen?
I think I did a video a couple days ago, so I think I'm just trying to do some new pictures and new downloads, and I'll have those out probably in 2 days. So get those up. So most people see all the Patreon and all the other stuff channels, so they already know that what I'm working on. So I think I'm good right now.
Cool.
Yes. So pretty interesting though stuff.
Yeah.
So is there any last comments you want to talk about or say or leave people?
No. I don't know. I'm just excited for everything coming through. I'm really excited about my new work with the human medbed stuff. I'm continuing to reverse age and noticing that on my face every couple of days or weeks. It's really interesting. I'm really enjoying having vitality and becoming the first human medbed. That's pretty cool. And I'm enjoying the new stuff about deleting the source code of diseases. And I'm wondering if that will be the way to delete everything. And I remember seeing a Greg Braden video years ago when they had someone who had bowel cancer, and they say in Chinese, already gone, already gone, already gone. And it dissipates in 3 minutes. And I'm hoping I'm going to get there. That's what I'm trying to do, is hack the matrix and see if we can delete these. And it's, as I said, it worked in 48 hours with a benign tumor. So just seeing where we're going and if we can delete the source code, because we are living in a matrix. So that's just what I'm playing with at the moment. But it feels like it's right. Have you got any more information on that I don't know yet, Jenny?
Well, the Matrix, see, when they limit you to decide what you can make, where you can live, and what you can do,
Right.
you have to be comfortable going outside their laws and breaking those laws and saying, no, I'm going to make my own way. I'm going to do my own path. And that's the thing. The mindset is like, there's no, don't looking at repercussions of the Matrix laws anymore, looking at the fact of where you're led to go and not allowing anything to stop you in the spirit of the soul. That's how you break it.
That's what I'm doing.
And that's being more creative and not in that process of fear. And that's the whole thing. Well, it's just, for instance, the way I see things, look at things. It's just, I've been doing this for a long time and doing my path forever. And I'm just like, down to the core of me, you could put me in one room and I'm still going to travel in the mind. It's not limiting me in any way.
I know. My friends used to say I could have fun in a cardboard box. Like, literally, I can just be connected and just be, having fun in different things. It's just,
right. So it's your mindset of deciding to step on top of the Matrix and kick it to the curb and saying, I'm making my own path. I'm taking the risk that my soul can take the risk on, and achieving that and going into this process in a new world in a new way. And it hasn't had to do with skin color or race or any of that. You can say, I'm starting over and I am being creative and going in a direction and nothing's going to stop me.
Yeah.
That's what's going to make a lot of people happy of deciding to break that chain and being happy about.
It takes one person. If you just think about the 1 minute mile as an example, everyone said you wouldn't be able to run a mile in a minute. That was just, they said no one's ever going to break it. And as soon as one person broke it, then people managed to do it. Then loads of people managed to do it. So it's that one pioneer person breaking that record, breaking that way of doing things, and then that opens the pathway for everybody else. So be brave, everybody. Really, because it expands consciousness for everybody else.
The first person that does that is when everybody looks at them and is shocked by them and why they're doing it and why they're not doing it this way. And then, but all of a sudden inside them, they're still watching that person and seeing how they're succeeding. That's the thing. That's the key to it. And it's a direction of staying on that path and keep going until the very end. You have no energy left and you're just look back on what you have accomplished by doing it your way, completely across the board. And that's like Humble Healing 3 I just got done with. And it took me 3.5 years for waiting for it to come. And now I'm finally setting appointments for that. And that's just a completely different awe moment that I haven't even gotten down to describing, because there's no words to describe it at all. Even if everybody says that. How do you describe this? We can't. There's no words to put it in because it's not in this reality.
You have to create new words. I'm creating new words, new phrases, new put things together, because it's really funny as well, because I call something and then I'm like, oh, that's now called that. And it's quite funny being a creator in that way, because it's different compositions. And I mean, deleting source codes, or the human med beds and energetic cellular regeneration. Like, I'm coming up with new terms because the terms don't exist, because I've just created them. And it is quite interesting.
The thing that is changing is people are coming to me because it's not that they want to see what I can see, but they want to be taught that they can see it too.
Yeah.
They want to see the door that they can see it through. And that's where society the spiritual community has suppressed that. Right. And they just keep keeping them in a circle. And I'm like, no, why can't we just go through the door, rip off the bandage, and let you see it for yourself? People are at the point, they're like, I don't want to know what you know. I want to see it inside my heart and my eyes now, because that gets them into a place of their own trust and their capability.
I agree. And that's the whole thing. I don't think it's for just a couple of people to have these abilities, seeing or healing. Like my company is called Divine Empowerment. It's all about other people learning how to do the stuff. I'm happy to be the pioneer and open the door and show people the way through. But ultimately, I want them to step through and be able to do this stuff and not rely upon me. It's a huge responsibility that I don't want. I'd rather teach people and then go and help people, because we've just, there are billions of people on the planet that need healing. So if you can teach, it's too big of a job for just one person, and it's seeing is too big of a job for one person. We need to start trusting ourselves and taking ownership of this sort of work and being able to do it and start really making an impact for as many people as possible. That's the point.
Right. And so we're coming into our own. We're coming into our own ability, and it's not just this one person, this person. Yeah, there were people that started off with a stronger ability, but they were always told to teach others and lead them in the path of the light. And so now you see that crowd is changing and going towards that light direction. But now they're wanting results to see it on their own and accepting the information on their own.
Need discernment, and that's the problem that people haven't had. When you've got psychic abilities, you start living a level of discernment, and you watch something and you go, that doesn't feel quite right, and then you start to know, and then you can start to trust yourself and trust in the universe, and it makes things so much easier when you're not being lied to and manipulated, and you can call out the BS.
Well, I think everybody is psychic. Everybody's psychic.
Sure.
So that's why when everybody says psychic, I'm like, everybody is psychic.
Do you know what I was listening to an audiobook yesterday by a lady called Psychic Sally, who's the biggest psychic in the UK. I just was hanging out with her this weekend. And in the audiobook, it was saying that we all have this valve, which is our psychic abilities. And when we're kids, then that's completely open. And as we get older, then that shuts down, which I know. But what keeps it open and what makes it open further is our behavior, and it's kindness, it's trust. It's making sure that you tell the truth, that you have integrity, that you do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. It's your behavior, it's bravery, it's helping others in lots of different ways. And that's what actually means more of this universal light comes through you. The more you do things to help in service for others, the more you get connected to source, the better your discernment becomes, and your abilities across the board psychically, from healing to seeing, become. And I thought that was really interesting, that, the practice of kindness and not taking any nonsense and really standing in your power and helping others is really what allows this stuff to happen for people.
Well, I think and I think that is a part, but there's some of us that are seers. And so as when I was young, to see the vision, I see through everything. I see through it. So that truth serum in your soul, it reaches to the truth always. It does not reside in a lie. It does not reside in us to believe that. It resides into calling that out, because
we need to start doing that, and we need to stop lying to one another, even if they're so-called white lies. That's BS.
Right.
Like, if you're lying to yourself, you're lying to other people, or you're seeing people lying. We need to stop that rubbish and call it out, which is one thing that Jenny's very big on, is making sure she's calling out the BS, because it's not helping anyone. It's really bad. So yeah, that's part of your mission here, is a BS detector, aren't you?
Yeah. There's a lot out there right now, and it builds up to a certain point, and then you feel this energy just says, you got to say it. Someone's got to say it, and you got to present it in the way that it needs to be presented.
You get rewarded for it. I mean, that's not the reason for doing it, but you get a lot more blessings when you start working for the truth and working for God. Things start flowing much more easily in your life. If you're not doing that, then your life is harder in a lot of different ways.
See, the thing I'll tell you, when I do each client and each interpretation, I'm always analyzing what they're saying, what I need to do, how it needs to be analyzed. So, and it's a meter of what needs to be done. And then some people, they are not in tune to that. They're not paying attention to that, and they don't have that. So that's why they go ahead and think that the cash flow is most important. And if they had that, they would analyze it and know that that is the most important, is that meter of the truth that comes down and enlightens you and tells you how this needs to be balanced and how you need to open that door for that person, and how you need to close it for this one, and be fair about it. That's the difference on the situation. What are you led by?
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I think this was a good show and a good subject. So
yeah, a lot of different things. But
yeah.
yeah, and I mean, we need to start focusing on truth a lot more as a collective. And I think everyone will be a lot happier if we stop lying to each other.
I think and that's what the truth. That's why I just say truth, truth, truth. Everything, but it's still not.
My debit card has the Masaru Emoto, the snowflake guy, the Japanese snowflake guy. I've got the my debit card has the snowflake which says truth on it. I'm all about truth.
That's good. That's great. Okay, well, I think it's been a good show, and we'll see when we can do this in the future. But it's been nice
Thank you very much
to
for having me, Jay.
talk about these subjects. And as always stay in the light and follow the light. Good night, guys.
Good night.